Hi guys, I'm here for work, feeling excited. I hope we're going to have a great afternoon. Yes. Oh, thank you. I got this shirt recently, and yeah. No, my evening was fine. It was fine. How was yours? Okay, so I'm here today to talk about anxiety in the city, burnout versus well-being. Now, I just came in and presented, the way I would go into the office, got my staff with me, right, quick, sit down, put everything down, smiles. But it's not so easy to know what's actually going on in my head and what I'm not revealing through the things that I'm saying and what I potentially am revealing through what I'm not saying. So, I think that it's really important to think about city burnout and city life and office work and working in general. But for me, I come from a background where I was in the office environment, and so I'll be speaking from that perspective this evening. And it's World Mental Health Day today, so it's 10th of October, and I have my green ring on this evening because the green heart represents our mental health. And for me, it's all about body mind practices and mental physical balance. So that to me represents mental and physical health. Anyway, let's get to the city. So I was thinking, what stresses can we have in the city, in the office? And some of it starts before we even get there. So a big one for me is commuting. And, I thought about commuting, the crowds, the cancellations, the things that can sometimes make you late for work or anxious that you're going to be late. Also, lots of people anxious to be in places. So it can be it can certainly be a very stressful environment. And that's how we open our day. I was certainly one of the people that would get up at the point that I had to literally get up, go out, go to work. And so for me, it was always kind of, am I going to get there? It's getting really crowded. And yeah, I see a cancellation. Okay, so then we have the office, and the office in general, you can have difficult interactions. There's times we don't always see eye to eye with somebody else's advice or the way that they want to do something. And it can be quite challenging to put our perspective across. So that actually takes up a lot of mental energy, and that can build our anxiety, especially if we're in that position a lot. Or if you're someone who is maybe managing a team and you're at that point of call where they really need advice. So there's times when you think, oh, I don't really want to hear my name again for just 5 minutes. Because it's helpful and it's giving as we want to be. There's limits where we have to think, I need to get some work done, I need to focus. So it's a challenging balancing act at work. I think multitasking as well. So we're doing lots of different things. I used to work on projects that would span over the course of, some projects were 3 or 4 years. So they were, slow burner, and then they'd become, it'd get quite intense. And especially towards the end when it got quite intense, it was really hard to think about well-being and thinking about taking myself out for a moment and just letting it go. Because I don't know about you, if you're someone who suffers from anxiety at work. I think we all do at some stage. It's not always plain sailing, and sometimes the team really work together well, and sometimes there might be a little bit of disruption. And also externally, the team's done everything they can to get everything set up, everyone's done their bit, but then externally things go wrong and it can really impact on your stress levels. And so, yeah, it's really hard to make that time. So I used to think the stress was a driver. I was like, oh, stress, it drives me. If I relax, if I have a massage, oh, I'm not going to have that, come on, come on. I felt like being slightly uncomfortable meant that it kept me on task. But actually, what it was doing was feeding into, for example, for my body to be able to relax, the breathing to be, nice extended breath as opposed to this shallow panic breath. This requires you, even sitting in your chair, to sit in a certain position so that you're sitting, you've got your nice straight back, you have your computer at a certain level, so a certain eye level. And you think about, some people need support when they're using a mouse. Some people actually need those fancy mouses where you work them from the side, all these different things, so that your body is in a good position, and so that when you're sitting down at the desk, you're at least there's you actually get a sense of well-being from having a good posture. And it's really difficult. I find when I'm stressed, what I do is my knee comes up on the chair, I start leaning over the keyboard, and sometimes if I've been typing so much, I literally am just like tap, 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 tap. Sometimes I do it like that, literally, because I can, I'm like, I've typed so many emails in my life that I can actually just do it without looking. That's actually happened. And that's due to overload. It's like project. So, all sorts of things come up. So colleagues, there can be microaggressions between colleagues. And, for example, I'm someone who can be, in my personal life, I can be quite complex in my thinking. Maybe, for example, oh, it could be this, but it could be that, but it could be that. And my brain's trying to work all these things out. When it comes to really complex things at work, I actually like to simplify. So I say, well, this is a really complex project. It's got all these different, levels to it, compartments, people that need to be involved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down. I'm going to color code it. I'm going to put dates on it. I'm going to organize it. And just put it into simplified tasks. And if I can, I'll say, right, here's a flow chart of how I do this process. Because when I'm stressed, that can be quite useful. Oh, what am I doing next? Okay, well, I've done that bit. Let's go to there. Let's go to there. And it's all about having a plan. So, yeah, I think that, it's really important, and it also really directs your thinking and how much you achieve. And okay, so pay is always a bit of a stressful one, isn't it? Especially when it comes to pay negotiations, pay reviews, and kind of having to sit there and say, well, I've done this and I've done that, and then you also have to recognize what you might not have done, and it can be quite an awkward situation. So yeah, and then time, so life work balance, depending on where you work and depending on how far it is from your home, it can be really difficult to find that work-life balance. And these are the things that really impact on our anxiety before we even reach the office. So, the more organized we are in our personal lives, which is so difficult because we spend so much time devoted to our passion and our job and our, honoring the deadlines that we've committed to, it means that, you do make these personal sacrifices. And we always kind of say, well, I'm building to the future. Well, I need to do well on this. Well, I need to prove myself on that. And the thing that I'm going to talk about now, so it's not just stress and anxiety. If you are in an extended period of stress and anxiety, it can actually lead to burnout. So burnout is when you literally feel like you've short fused, when it's like, I can't take any more. That's the point where we're getting signed off work. That's the point when we're having to take well-being into account. because we've pushed ourselves to a limit, and other people as well. Expectations, demands, it all plays its part. It's not just our responsibility. It's a responsibility in the teams that we're in the groups that we're in. It's a responsibility of our managers, our directors, that we maintain this environment where we encourage wellbeing practices. So even if there's a massive project and it's all, everyone's got to be in, there's nothing saying you can't stop for a 20-minute stretch, or everyone goes outside and just get some air, or, ordering a big fruit bowl. I remember we did a massive project when I worked at a gallery, and my director ordered in a massive, she was in the countryside, massive basket of fruit for us. And if someone said to me, do you want a box of chocolates? I'd be like, absolutely. But, the thing that we needed then to keep going was the energy and the natural sugars and everything that we got from those fruits. And it also felt really great that our director had thought of us, and she's not just thinking, oh, well, it's your job, well, you have to do it. She's actually thinking, no, I'm really proud of you guys for being so dedicated, when you could have, made it a lot more challenging by, not getting on board. Everyone's on board, everyone's supporting each other. And we, that gesture really, it just made everyone feel good about, what we were doing. So I've probably covered some of it now, but I was going to talk about well-being. So well-being. So I've talked about burnout, which is literally, it's overwhelm. It's, I can't take any more. I'm getting signed off work now. So well-being, it's time for you to be you. So it's really important to have well-being practices when you're away from the office, as well as, I think it's really important that managers, directors are implementing these kind of options for people. And I know that the places that I've worked in the past, the galleries and museums, they've been very, they've been very driven to organize things and get people together, doing all sorts of activities and days out. So I've been very lucky in the places that I've worked, because that's been the atmosphere. But even so, when you're at work, there's still that level, isn't there? Hi guys, I'll just put my bag down. I'm not going to tell you that I'm feeling anxious. I'm not going to tell you that I didn't actually want to get up this morning. And when I reached the door, I just thought, oh, I can't do this. I haven't told you that I am absolutely dreading that person calling me today. And I don't want to hear anything from so-and-so in the office, because I don't think I could take any more. Now, you don't say any of that. You say, I'm fine. So time for ourselves away from the office, our well-being is about actually being ourselves. I want to dance. I want to go swimming. I want to learn how to, I don't know, what would you learn how to do? I learn how to do painting, massive canvas painting, so I can really express myself. Okay, football. I want to play football. I want to spend my time doing something that, I feel really personally connected to, and where you can let loose and you can see friends. You might talk a bit differently outside of work. You hear people on the phone, hello, hi. You hear them outside of work, yeah, oh my gosh, did you hear that? And it's completely different kind of, response, and a completely different way of communicating and expressing yourself, because it's not formalized anymore. You're not taking on the philosophies of the company and saying, right, this is how I present, this is what we expect, this is how we write. You're actually saying, right, this is how I feel, this is what I want to do. So I think it's really important to have that time. And I'm not someone that has children, but I know friends who have children, and it's a really great time when they spend with their children, just just playing and seeing them explore, and showing them, taking them on walks in, natural environments, and playing sports, all of those things are actually really relaxing. You know, they can be really relaxing and really fun. And I'm sure, I don't know, I say relaxing, I'm not a parent, I don't know how that works, but I know they're fun. So absolutely. Body mind balance activities. So that can be meditation. For me, I'm not someone who is very good at sitting still. So things like meditation and yoga are quite challenging. But I think things like going for walks, and it sounds so simple, it really does. But actually, when you get outside and you just get moving, just yourself, or maybe you want to go with someone else and you get to have a really good chat with them, just the two of you, you know, it could be a really, it just brings you back, you know, into a more relaxed kind of, you know, chilled mindset. Again, obviously we've got sports and exercise. I think art is amazing. So I personally love crafting, calligraphy, and I make cards, so I bespoke cards. And when you're doing things like that, you're not thinking about, oh, what's going on, anxious. You're actually thinking, you know, right, I'm going to create a bouquet of flowers, like a 3D bouquet to put on this card. Right, I've got to make this bit, I've got to find this color, I want these materials. And your head's not swirling, your head is focused. I think that's a really big thing. If you can find an activity where you focus on the activity, then it takes you outside of anxiety and stress, and it gives you some pleasure, and you know, it sets off those pleasure endorphins. And yeah. Okay, connection with the earth, seasons, animals. Okay, so that's grounding experience. So, you know, especially if you have a cat. So, okay, so this is the theme for World Mental Health Day this year. It's that in a world, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's basically saying, it's talking about mental health in a world of inequality. Anyway, so this is what I would say. I don't know if it's backwards, but all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So I'm a cat fan. I love my cats. I'm a fan of cats. But yeah, also, you know, when you're walking around, just actually seeing. I went for a walk the other day and saw a swan. You know, and I'm not gonna stroke the swan. I just enjoyed watching it kind of gliding around. It came up to me, it's having a look at me, I was having a look at the swan, and it's quite peaceful. So it's a grounding experience. Then we've got peaceful or energetic, or a combination. So you might take yourself away to a peaceful environment and sit down and kind of listen to, you know, the breeze, the different birds. You might touch the grass and just feel the nature around you. But if you're like me, you're going to put on your speaker, you're going to put on your music, and you're going to start jumping around. Because I like energy. For me, it's all about energy to get it out. Because I find when you're working in an office, and when you're working on projects on your computer, even now as a lifestyle and fitness coach and with All Silver Clouds, I have lots of administration, finance, design projects, and lots of different things that I need to do on the computer. So even knowing I go around teaching fitness, teaching people about different things in terms of lifestyle, so decluttering, organizing, and getting out there, I still need to come back here and, you know, do some work in terms of, you know, focused on, you know, sitting and looking at a screen for a prolonged time and that kind of stuff. And it's really, 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 really important. And I know we all think, oh, it's important, and then we don't do it, and I'm criminal, absolutely criminal, especially when I'm doing design, because you start and then you're like, I just change this bit, or I just change that, and then I'll stop. And this goes on for an hour. Well, the thing is, we need to think about our bodies and our minds in the long term. So it's not just about today. It's about how are we going to affect our eyes, how are we going to affect our posture, how are we going to affect our spine, you know, what is the ramifications of not making these little actions. And so you know, I think instead of saying I need to do this, I should do this, I know I should do this, I look at it more as when we do these things, we're letting out tension, we're relaxing, and we're putting ourselves into a different mode mentally. And that's really useful to have a clear mind and a clear perspective to move forward in what we're trying to do. So if we're problem solving, then it's absolutely essential. If you've got to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do, it's not because you can't do it. It's not because it's out of your capabilities. It is probably that you need a bit of air. Maybe stretch out your arms, open up the body, open up the breathing. It's really important to get this breathing open. When we've got our shoulders in place, take our shoulders up and drop them into place. Then that's when our breathing is more, you know, is more efficient. And so then, you know, our thought process is going to be more efficient. And, you know, it's about finding that clarity of mind. So the last one, personal organization. This is so hard. This is why it's quite important. Now, I don't know about you, I still use a paper diary. So you know, everything else is on the laptop except for a paper diary that I keep beside me. Because if I, you know, miss something, if I miss an email, if I don't go into my emails and I don't get the alert that says I'm meant to be in a meeting, then there's a chance I'm going to miss something. So I write it in my personal diary, what I have to do for work. And so I literally just glance over, okay, that's what's coming up today. Now, what a lot of us don't do, we have our work duties all logged out, must do, but we don't have our personal duties to ourselves in our diaries. And I'm absolutely criminal of this as well. I mean, I am putting exercise in my diary, so that does really help, you know, in terms of me achieving my well-being intentions so that I don't reach a burnout place. And, you know, it really depends what's going on around you, but I have my go-to to do my very best not to get to a burnout. So, you know, I think that making sure that we put some of these things in our diary, schedule it, like I will do some decluttering, I will do some exercising, I will have this time with my children, or I will, you know, get involved in this activity more. It's really important to schedule it just like we do for work, because then it's more concrete. So if we've just got ideas in our head, we're not kind of grounding those ideas into something that we can work with. We've just got, you know, lots of aspirations. So to actually set aside time for them, that's what makes them, you know, that's what grounds them, and that's where we, you know, find growth. So I think it's also about confidence as well. So when we start organizing ourselves personally, so that can be, for me, time as an aspect. It's a massive aspect. So I find it really difficult to, you know, keep to certain time. I would always be like, sorry guys, I'm going to carry on working tonight. I know we've organized to go out for ages, but I'm sorry I have to let you down. And not only am I impacting on my friends' well-being, but I'm also impacting on myself, because that's my opportunity to have a break from working and to do something that brings like some balance back into my life. But that's the first thing that I drop in order to keep working. And I think it's really important, you know, these things happen from time to time, but I think it's really insightful to keep a note in your keep a note in your diary of when you do when you do kind of, you know, put an X next to your well-being. And the more and more you're doing that, the chances are the path you're on is towards burnout. So personal organization can just be making sure you've got your clothes ready for the morning, a bit like when we were at school, actually. That's actually quite a good thing to learn. I didn't realize at the time, but just setting out what you're going to wear, or even just knowing it's clean, it's fresh, it's there. If you're someone that doesn't take a lot of time to decide, you just think, right, I want to wear this color, okay, great, put it on, fine. But if you're someone that spends more time trying to coordinate things, it's quite a good idea to think in advance. I think another thing that's quite important is trying to regulate your time. So if you set an alarm, get up on your alarm. Don't second question what you wanted to achieve, what you set last night as your goal. And that's such a hard one. I just remember all those mornings where I didn't even, there was times I'd walk to the bathroom and my eyes closed, I was so tired. But it is difficult working, and it is difficult to strike this balance, but it is really important. So I think it's good to definitely set intentions for yourself and definitely make a note of them and try to follow through as much as possible. And if you're committing to so many work things and you're not committing to enough in your personal life, and I'm not talking about really big responsibilities, it could just be chill time. It could just literally be it doesn't have to be you've got to do this big activity. It could just literally be scheduling in a family night, and you don't do anything much, you just enjoy each other's company for the evening, and without any kind of stresses, or well, we'll see. I don't know, again, as I said, I don't have children. I don't know, but anyway, so I just want to take this all back to the workplace, just to finish up, because that's really where it all started. So anxiety in the city. So I think, so I'll just have a go through this now. Strike a balance. Okay, so don't overcommit. I think when you're in the workplace, so we talked about when you're on your own, at home, talking about your well-being and your well-being practices. But in the workplace, how can you kind of implement some type of well-being for yourself, or even, some kind of boundaries? So we don't even need to look at it as well-being. It might just be boundaries. We don't need to outwardly say, this is my boundary. But what we need to do is keep in our mind what our boundaries are and negotiate with those boundaries. And instead of just saying, if someone says, right, do this, and you're like, okay, if you're really overloaded, it's not about saying, no, I'm not doing it, I'm overloaded, but it's about saying, just to let you know, I've got a lot going on, and I'd really need some help with that, or some support with that, and then they might think twice about, they might say, well, actually, is there someone else who could be doing this? So I think it is important to keep in mind what your boundaries are, and when you're personally feeling the anxiety going up, communicate it, but try and communicate it in an effective way. So we don't want to do it in an emotional way, we want to try and do it in an effective way. So that's the best way to do it. And try and be constructive and say, I really want to help, but I'm probably going to need support with that myself, due to the all the things I'm doing at the moment. So yeah, I'll definitely take it on, but is there a chance that someone, not even I'll definitely take it on, but is there a chance that I could work on that with someone else? Or and I think actually, if you're a colleague who knows someone's got a lot on their schedule, and you know that you haven't got as much, I think it's really important to jump in and say, do you know what, don't worry, I'll take that. Because it's not a competition about who's got the most projects. It's about everybody in the team supporting each other, so you all maintain a nice balance of good health, good relationships amongst each other. So don't make decisions out of guilt. So that would be an emotional response. So you're like, so some people would shut down and just say, oh, okay, and it's because they feel bad. And then there's other people who might be like, oh no, I can't take any more. These are quite emotional responses. So if you can kind of filter it into something bit more constructive, then no one can argue with you, can they? um, Simplify things. So as I said, it's good to simplify things as much as possible. We've got enough complicated stuff that comes up, especially at work, that we need to kind of have systems that make the day-to-day processes a lot more simplified, just so you can streamline it and just do it, done, and then focus on some of the bigger tasks that take a lot more mental processing. And yeah, so again, having a guilt complex, which quite a lot of us have when we go to work, you don't want to, you want to look like you're like, I really want to be here, I'm working really hard, I hope everyone can see I'm working really hard, what if they think I'm not working really hard? There's a lot of kind of like trying to second guess what people are thinking when you're in an office environment. I think it's quite important to chill out on that. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what you're doing, you know how much you're putting in, you know what's expected of you, and you know if you're pushing some responsibilities to the side. So, let's not assume that everyone's kind of, got. I know we do have some people at work who are like that. I've had a boss who was like that, who's micromanager, and it was a nightmare. But, hopefully these people are few and far between, and hopefully not hopefully, they definitely will be, the more and more well-being practices are introduced into the workplace, and mental health as well as physical health is being taken really seriously. So hopefully these people who bring unnecessary stresses to your life, hopefully that's something we can really start to combat as we raise awareness about the importance of our well-being versus burning out. Okay, so not too much more to go. Develop coping mechanisms. Oh, sorry, we'll simplify things. So as I said, so organization and planning really helps. Don't overcomplicate things, and remove unnecessary stresses. So sometimes there's just little things or processes we do or habits we have that they're just unnecessary, or there's little niggly jobs we don't have time for. We need to get the big task done. So if you can remove stresses from your life, and it can be certain people as well, if you spend a lot of time with someone who is quite angry about things, it really does impact on your spirit. So while I'm not saying, don't talk to these, sometimes we have to deal with people who are on a different kind of work in these emotional planes. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but sometimes people who bring these kind of quite aggressive emotions to work, or from externally, it can come. I think while we can't remove them from our lives, we can certainly limit the time we're around them, and as much as possible. It's all about nurturing your spirit, and if someone's trying to break it, then they're not healthy for you. Okay, so develop a coping mechanism which you can use quickly. So I talk about breathing and exercise. I mean, you can literally say you chose 2 favorite breathing exercises and 2 body exercises, I don't know, like squats or like doing some lunges or whatever it is. Those are the kind of activities that can change your psychology in a matter of minutes. So you can take yourself outside a building, feel stressed, start moving, start getting slowly, you'll feel your body opening up, your breathing will deepen, and you'll take yourself out of anxiety and into a place of a bit more clarity. And so if you can find a technique like that, which you can literally use as soon as you feel things changing, one thing you can do is jog up and down on the spot, just jog, or just jump up and down on the spot. It's really simple, but what it does is it really, it triggers blood. It doesn't trigger, but it increases blood flow. Obviously, you always have to have some blood flow, but it increases the blood flow and the oxygen going around the blood. And, it also loosens up our muscles. And when our muscles are tense, we feel tense. When our muscles are relaxed and loosened, we feel loosened and relaxed. Hence why people quite like massage. And yeah, totally recommend massage. It's fantastic. And it's not, people say massage is a luxury. I don't think it is a luxury, actually. I think it's really important, when you've got knots in your back, when you've got tensions, and you had your spine compromised through sitting at a desk for too long. A massage can just really unlock all of this and help you to just relax. And as I said earlier, I used to think that stress and knots were a driver. They kept me in a place of anxiety, which pushed me to get that deadline done. But it was unnecessary. It was misplaced energy, because the reality is, as soon as I was relaxed, I could think a lot more clearly, and I could simplify, and I could remove stresses and really do a good job on the main thing at hand. Okay, I do talk quite a lot, don't I? So let's say the last one then. You can do this. You can do this. You can. Believe in you. So put your energy into the right response and the right responsibilities. So, really, it's about where you place your energy and your time and your passion. And it's really challenging negotiating with different people. But we don't need to look at things as, we can look at it as problem solving, as finding common ground. It really depends how you phrase it to yourself and how you look at these interactions. So, it can actually be really satisfying when someone starts off in aggressive, and then you manage to talk to them and reassure them, and so they completely change. I've had people that have come on the phone to me and said, "Where's my artwork?" And when I've explained, well, we're doing a customs process, and then this is going to be done then, and if you can sign this off, then you'll have it on this time with these people. And they're like, "Oh, thank you very much," because that's what they wanted, reassurance. They didn't really want to be angry and shouting, but that is the emotional position that they got to, which prompted them to make that phone call. As soon as I, explained the process, simplified it, and had, gave them the peace of mind they were looking for, the emotions completely changed, and I actually felt the balance return. So, and I felt it for me as well, because obviously, even knowing I was very calm on the outside, my heart was so I think it is really, it's really important to think about how you frame these interactions as well. And if you can, try and look at it as maybe a bit of practice. So, it's not easy at all, because we have our own emotions and sometimes we just don't need it. But I'm just trying to think of ways of safeguarding ourselves and safeguarding our well-being. And okay, so so if you find yourself procrastinating, take action. Okay, so this is kind of my last comment. When people say, "Oh, I just can't focus, I can't get into it," actually what I find is that the more you sit there, the more you reinforce in your head, I don't know what to do. I have no inspiration right now. When the reality is, if you've got to that point, go for a walk, go and make a drink in the kitchen, come back. That walk, that change in environment, that movement in the body can actually, that might just be what you needed to give your mind a break, and to take maybe some of it back to the subconscious and not being like your focal point for a few minutes. When you come back, you can have a slightly different perspective. Alternatively, you might say, "You know what, this isn't working out for now. I'm going to take my lunch break and come back to it." It all really depends what your deadlines are, what the, what your timeframes are. But if you can give yourself a couple of minutes, even a couple of minutes, that can completely change your workflow. So when you realize you've reached a dead end, consult. Okay, so This is how I look at it. So I made some notes. Well, I thought, should I do a presentation? And I thought, no, I'm going to have a chat instead. So let me just read what I wrote. So I said, okay, so taking action against your own procrastination, it's like a map. You realize you're at a dead end, so you consult the map and you change your direction. So, you know, if you've reached a dead end, whether it's writing something, whether it's you just can't work it out, right? You can't see the wood for the trees. Is that the phrase? The trees, yeah, the wood for the trees. Then it's time to do something different. It's time to consult the map, right? What was the goal? What's my objective here? Okay, right, it's not right now, we've come to a standstill. Is there another route? Is there someone else I could go and talk to who might be able to give me some advice or spark some inspiration? Do I need to just take a few minutes outside, get some fresh air, get a bit of sunshine, and then come back in? Consult your map. What are you trying to, where are you trying to get to? What's the destination? If you're stuck, is there another road? So that's where I'm going to leave it. I could talk all night, but I'm not going to. I think, you know, I think I've said everything that I'd like to put forward in terms of, you know, we need to really take our own well-being to our heart and not always be looking to please other people and to make everything perfect. Sometimes we need to think, you know, how is this affecting me? And ultimately, if I become burnt out, if I become overwhelmed, what use, what can I contribute at that stage? So that's why it's really important. And always try and find someone that you can talk to at work, not to kind of like, you know, someone that you can, you know, who's maybe not as formal, maybe someone that you can, you know, that you get on with quite well. And if you have little friendships at work, and then people, if you just know a couple of people, because I've never been, so I'm someone who talks to everyone, but I'm really, really close with a selection, you know, with a few people. But those people, they know when something's off balance with you. They just know, they can see it, they see it in your eyes, they see it in your behavior, they see it in what you know, they hear it in your voice. They know you, even if you don't spend, you know, you don't spend all your time with them. The fact that when you're at work, they know your baseline and they can feel when it's off. So all right, guys, that really is it now. I just want to say happy World Mental Health Day and look after yourself. All right then, bye.